some different ones.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we've already kind of started talking about thyroid, but I'm just going to remind you of a few ideas, and we'll take off from there. I think I should always mention that I can't call this a medical device. It certainly is not. It is not an FDA registered device. It's sound. The FDA cannot regulate our voices. Can they? Can they regulate music? So it's not a regulated idea, and they still consider acoustical frequencies experimental. But some of you may have seen that this chart, before, obviously, but we've got hundreds of sound frequencies, and now it's actually up to 1,000 on the brand new watches. And within each one of those is 30, a lot of times, not every single one, but a lot of them have about 30 different frequencies inside each idea. So we're almost talking about, 24,000 frequencies are on that watch, and you can access them. And so one of the biggest things that I really like to point out, there's no internet. It's very important for us. There's no cords or messy wires or patches. Anybody can use it, even if you're hard of hearing. You don't have to, that's me, I'm hard of hearing, and you don't have to hear it to use it. Now, a lot of people are giving testimonies about their pets that are hearing it or sitting on their laps. And so it can be absorbed, and that seems to be an amazing thing, that your pet could absorb it while you're on there, So that's where we're at with some ideas there. Okay. There's no monthly fee. Don't forget that one. Pretty important. Sometimes we have that. Let me see. I'm still having trouble getting everything set. There we go. So don't forget that it's a little bit better if you wear it on your left hand. Everybody can't do that. Some women want to put it in their bra, that's fine, but you have to be careful where you're wearing it. But they do say that the best place is on your left hand. You absorb through your left hand and you pass energy through your right hand. So that's kind of important to do that way. And don't forget, the whole concept is that when you're wearing it, when it's touching your skin and your bones absorb frequencies like you can't believe. It's just totally amazing. And so there are 70 receptors inside every cell. And then when they feel a vibration from the WAVwatch, or from other ideas too, from your voice, from somebody touching you, when they feel vibrations, these receptors start to vibrate, then the next cell vibrates, and the next cell, and then literally zips through your body at 4.3 times the speed of sound. So lots of ideas that way. And then I think we're about, and I love somatics. We've gone through some of this before, but we have new people. They might not have seen this. So somatics is where they put sand or a really fine idea on a plate and then introduce it to frequencies, and these shapes begin to take form. So what I think is one of the best pictures I've seen that shows the WAVwatch possibility is this one. This was done at Stanford. And each one of these is an image of a heart cell that they put a different frequency to. Is that not amazing? I mean, I'm a teacher and I wish I could have all of you raise your hands and say, isn't this just amazing? So every single heart cell will react to a frequency, and the different frequencies cause a different pattern. So at Stanford, they were using the frequencies to put a cell in motion, guide it to a position, and hold it in place. We're talking about our heart. So it's going to do that all over your body where there's blood, different things. So sometimes people ask, where is the medical proof of this? There are a lot of concepts out there that have really literally been ignored for 100 years about frequencies. So here we go. Don't forget, we've got lots of programs, about 65 targeted presentations like this one. We're on Rumble, we're on YouTube, and you can go to WAVwatch.com. So if you need to be reminded of that or help somebody. I had a little bit of a testimony, and I think she gave me one somewhere else, and I couldn't find it. But basically, the thyroid and the WAVwatch, as you know, I love and use my WAVwatch diligently, and I am seeing results I've told you about regarding my thyroid nodules, So one is telling us about that. And we already had some great testimonies today, so thank you very much. Now, some of you know I do thermography. And so this is one of my images that I thought was very visual that you could see of this person's neck. So a lot of times people are still questioning, well, where exactly is my thyroid? And the easiest way to say is like, well, it's where a bow tie sits, and it is bow tie shaped. And so here we have a picture of someone's thyroid that was inflamed, and you can see the left lobe and the right lobe, and you can kind of see that a butterfly effect or a bow tie is my favorite phrasing. You can see that. Now, on my thermography camera, when it shows up like this, that tells us inflammation. We normally don't want to see anything. That area should not have any red at all. So this is a way that you can test, or some work that you could have done to see if your thyroid is problematic. Now, I'm not going to talk a lot about tests because I'm really disappointed in the medical tests for the thyroid. They have a lot of different tests, and people spend a lot of different money on these tests. But I have had women come to the office, and one lady in particular, I have a picture of her in one of my booklets, and I don't know why I didn't happen to think to put her image on, but basically she said, oh, I don't need my thyroid, picture taken. She said, I've had it tested 3 times with the medical community, and I'm just fine. And this lady is standing in front of me. She's 100 pounds overweight. She has no eyebrows. Her hair is falling out. She has great big pimples on the back of her arm. And the list goes on and on and on. But 3 tests, she had been told that she was in the low normal range and there was nothing they could do. So we have to be responsible quite a bit more for our own thyroid health and our health of any kind. And I could talk about this all day long. So many women have told me those same ideas. And so it is important for us to recognize. Now, Vienna has already mentioned that the temperature is one of the best things you can do. You have a way to test your thyroid at home. You just take your thermometer, and actually the best way, it's called the Barnes basal test. I'm sorry I didn't put that in a slide, but it's the Barnes basal test. And all it is you take a you take a thermometer, put it beside your bed at night. And then when you wake up in the morning, before you get up and move around, you grab that thermometer off of your nightstand and put it underneath your armpit, and you take your body temperature, and you do that several days, and then you average it. And if your body temperature is 1 degree below normal, now they do give you 1 degree, but if it's 1 degree below the normal, if it's below 97.6, you've got thyroid problems. That's really all you need to know. Your thyroid is not functioning right. And then you need to start taking some steps and seeing what you can do. And your step might be go to the medical doctor. Yes, perfect. But we also want to know that there are other things to do. So here's one. It's the thermogram. Wouldn't you like to see that? So women that come to me, I can literally give them some suggestions, and they can come back in a couple of weeks, and we can take the same picture and see if that inflammation has changed. Okay, so lots of things you could do. Look around for that. And I want to, kind of jump in and show you a few more things. But, looks like my slide kind of changed images here a little bit. But what I was trying to say at the top of this that got cut off is that most women, half of the women in the US really that have thyroid problems do not know it. So women have 5 to 10 times more thyroid problems than men. 15 million women do not know they have thyroid problems, and 12% of the population is problematic with thyroid problems. And so they say 4 to 8 women, I think, is the statistic that was cut off. But we are not realizing that we do not take good care of our thyroid, or that so many things are bothering our thyroid. So it is very, very problematic. So again, if you just think of it as where a bow tie sits and it's bow tie shaped, and then right behind it, I think I've got some more pictures. We have the parathyroid gland. There are 4 little glands where I'm trying to show you here, and they are working with the thyroid a lot. So there are over 300 diseases connected to 300 symptoms connected to thyroid. So this is what is available on the WAVwatch at this point in time. There's 9 ideas. And like we've already kind of talked about, I do have hyper and hypo in the same folder. So this would be one folder that you might not want to just flow through all of the time. You might want to pick a particular area or put it into a favorites folder. And so these are some of the listings. But the stuma cystica is an enlargement, a growth. That's what we're talking about there. And so these are some ideas. You can see it, really easy on that particular screen. So I was outside just this morning. So I guess you'd say these photos are hot. Off the, I just got them done, and I'm having a little bit of trouble with my light, but I still thought that might be helpful for you to see. So we have hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. Now, believe it or not, you can change. You can be hyper one day and hypo another day. And I didn't quite think that made sense, but there is that problem. And so if you are looking at supplements, try to find one that's a balancing rather than just made for one disorder versus the other one. I like the ones that balance better. Now, the medical community knows this also. And I had this verified by a client who came in, and she said, oh yeah, she said, I have to make a list of my symptoms every day. And then when I call in, whether it was, once a month or whatever her time phrase was that she called into her doctor, she would list those symptoms. And if she had hypo symptoms, they would give her XYZ. If she had hyper symptoms, they would give her another one, and they would tell her which ones to take. So some months or weeks, whatever the time frame was, she could change between hyper and hypo. So I don't know how many medical doctors work with this, but I know that there was one in the Kansas City area that was doing this. So that woman was very aware that sometimes she was hypo, sometimes she was hyper. So that's why the thyroid balance on the WAVwatch can be a very good one. So you're going to see some different ideas here. And I'm just going to jump in right off the bat a little bit. Women do not realize that thyroid problems are connected with our breast cancer. And I think that is so sad. And this is exactly what happened to my sister. I've mentioned that several times, that both my mom and sister have had breast cancer at the same time. Pardon? They want to say something? Okay. Anyway, my sister had hyperthyroidism. She got the bulging eyes, and she lost weight. I don't know, anything else that was really going on. Those are the ones I remember the most. And so they gave her something and balanced that out, and, some improvements. But within 2 years, she had breast cancer. And at that point in time, I didn't know anything about breast cancer or health, really, probably at that point in time either. I was a school teacher, and it didn't take me long to look on the internet and to learn that we have not been told that thyroid problems connect with breast cancer. And the time period is about 2 years after you have severe thyroid problems, you can develop breast cancer. And most of the people who have trouble with thyroid are women. I've already established that fact. So, and then we do have a few guys that come in. It's only 1%, but some guys have breast cancer, and a lot of times they will have thyroid problems caused by, you guessed it, a tooth that drains to the thyroid and then drains on down to the chest or the breast. So there are 8 teeth connected with that. So please realize that you can be hypo, and that if you are worrying about your thyroid, you definitely need to do something. Now, here's why hormones and, women are so connected with thyroid problems. It's the hormones, Of course, we have more hormone problems than men, and these can be so very specific and problematic. So, hypothyroidism can lead to all of these ideas. So most of these are on the WAVwatch. So you might want to play through some of these if you have any of these particular problems, plus play hypothyroidism, So if you're having trouble with infertility, if you've had a miscarriage, if you have PMS, the list goes on and on. So if you have any of these ideas, check and make sure your thyroid is functioning. Hopefully you'll see some of these ideas and be very specific for this. It's very, very important. PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, irregular cycles, uterine fibroids, low libido, menopause problems, ladies. These are all, quote unquote, connecting back to our thyroid, and think about it, the breast cancer problems too. So I was very disappointed. Again, if I tried to say a show of hands, I already know from talking to over 5,000 women that most of them do not realize that their thyroid problems can lead to breast cancer. So a huge problem. Now, other things that can mess up our thyroid are all kinds of toxins and environmental problems. So this was a list that I found on the National Center for Biomedical Technology, and CBI, and the NIH. So they are showing that PCBs, gosh, they're all over, aren't they? I wish I could rattle this off. I can't. But look at all of the ideas. Pesticides, any pesticide on our crops can destroy our thyroid. PBDEs found in flame retardants. Plastic bottles, the BPA in plastic bottles can mess with our thyroid. Rocket fuel, fertilizer, smoking. How about soaps, triclosan? How many people really pay attention to all of those things that they told us to do, to wash our hands in, all the antibacterial things that we were supposed to be doing during the last 2.5 to 3 years? Those mess up our thyroid. It just goes on and on. And then soy products are also connected with thyroid problems. So you don't have to go very far to know that we are extremely toxic with all kinds of things. And again, it hits the women more than the men, but that doesn't mean that men aren't targeted too, that they're not going to develop some problems. And so they have to be just as aware of it, or maybe you're aware of it so that you can help your loved ones. You need to be educated. And that's what this is all about, is helping people that we know and love. So those are other ideas. So of course, play the whole detox icon, go through everything. And sometimes people tell me that they just played the asbestos one or, chemical detox. Well, I think it's worth it to play all 23 ideas in the folder. And if you haven't seen the WAVwatch or haven't gotten yours before, when you get it to this, we've punched several buttons to get it to this stage. But what this means is that number 5 is lit up down here. The chemtrail detox has actually been accentuated, like, as soon as you touch it, it'll start playing. But there are 23 ideas in this folder. This tells us a little bit about the battery. Somebody could maybe describe the blue one. It's just part of the battery idea, and it also goes off. So when these bars go down, you're out of battery power. This one, you can go up, and things are in alphabetical order. So if you know something that starts with V, it's easier to go up and press this button than it is to go down and go through about 5 more folders. So you can go up or down. to get to some of these folders. And then you can use this arrow to go backwards to get back to home base. Now on this particular screen, the menu bar doesn't do anything. It's there. I guess it's an icon, a placeholder. It doesn't do anything. So those are just a few ideas as we work on this. And as soon as you see this music screen right here, you're close, but you have to make a selection before it will go to the next screen where you can hear a frequency if you have it up loud enough. Don't forget that I don't think that you have to have it loud. Your body is just going to absorb it. That's all we want it to do. So here's some more problems that occur when we have thyroid problems. Lots of mood swings. If I get really technical, cognitive and psychiatric symptoms or mood swings can occur. And this is a list from verywellhealth.com. So all of these things happen when we have thyroid problems. And I hope you clued in when I said there were 300 different symptoms of thyroid problems. It's pretty sad. I've had those, quite a few of them, in some presentations for a long time. But when I started looking today, the simplified versions were on the internet with just a few symptoms that really could be related to many, many problems. But just to kind of keep on track here a little bit, people who maybe have changed their personality a little bit, mood swings, could be suffering from some thyroid problems that may not be detected by the medical community. So of course, we have things for that. So I tried this morning. So all the emotions can be played. You don't have to be real particular because sometimes we don't know exactly which emotion is bothering us. And it could be emotions from, 20 years ago that could be bothering us. So if you go to the first folder, you will see that there are 1 out of 38 ideas. And then if you would open up Bach emotions, you will see that we have a different folder. Now we have something that looks a little bit different, and this time it says 39 ideas. So when you open this one, it will convert to this folder over here, and there are 10 ideas that you could play. And I had to kind of keep them separate. It was, so it's a different level. And then these are ready to play. You'll see that there's a folder here. So you know that you have to touch that one more time in order for it to open up this folder. Okay. And then you could start right here. You can just touch this one and, you can do the math work. There's going to be 38 ideas right here that would be connected to Bach emotional folders. Or if we stick up here and we don't use Bach emotional folders, we can just open the chakras. We can open love. Now, this is a new one that I added, and it kind of got thrown in. It wasn't quite where I wanted it to be, but love needs to be at the forefront. So I like that one, actually. And you'll look behind me right here. I got my love sign on, So it's a huge one. But you could go down this list and you'll see that there are different things to play also. So there's about 85 different frequencies for emotions. Hugely important, very, very important. So I tried to kind of show some differences in that, if that is helpful. Now, we have to go on, but there's autoimmune diseases. So another folder that you could play that could be helpful for your thyroid, because people say, oh, it didn't quite work on my thyroid one, so these are some different ideas that you could do. So go to the immune system folder, and all of those could be played, but you might be able to kind of hone in on the autoimmune disease one, because that's what thyroid problems can turn into, is autoimmune problems. But all of the ideas on this folder are good, and there's 18 ideas there. Okay, so don't forget, if it's number 5 right here, it's got it lit up. It's just, this is complex diseases. I'm not sure what the exact title is, but this is number 5, and that's all it's saying. And if you had this one highlighted up here, it would say 1 out of 18. But some people still get stuck on that just a little bit. So hopefully that shows you what that is doing. So please play through the autoimmune diseases, and you could loop that all night long sometimes, or you could play through everything in the in the immune system folder. Oops. And then I want to encourage you to be a detox person. If you are not a detoxer, do as many things as you can. I mean, I'm hoping that list from the, that I showed you with all the PCBs and all of those toxins, that's just a little tiny list. We are just inundated with toxins. So, make sure you're drinking the right kind of water. Make sure celery is a detox. It just goes on and on and on. You can take detox baths. And I don't want to take too much time on that, but I think that, we're gradually learning that. Everybody that's here today, I think, is pretty natural and really great on, sharing ideas. So just keep continuing to detox. Even though you've played detox here, you might want to keep detoxing through different methods. And then I think I mentioned this last week, but it's always worth repeating. Michelle Moore, I am on her show, her podcast, and she is a person that has a foot bath, which is a detox system. And she says that she's had that foot bath for about 15 years and that her whole family uses it. And now they have double foot baths that two people can do that at the same time. So I thought that was fabulous. And she said she knew what color her water was. It was always the same color, and it was, thick and murky and, very different. But after she started using the WAVwatch, it cleared up immensely. Now it still has some color to it, and I'm not sure how else she described it. But the main concept was that, to me, that kind of showed that the WAVwatch was detoxing, because she could tell that her water had changed drastically. So I don't know if anybody else has any ideas about detox, but that's a huge thing in our system. Now, here's another reason we need to detox. Wow. So guess what drugs cause hypothyroidism? Drugs that people are given for hyper. That's the first thing. It is acknowledged. They can give you a drug for hyperthyroidism, and so it causes hypothyroidism. So the amiodarone, lithium that they give to people for bipolarism and other, mental problems, can be very, very hard and actually cause a huge depression. Many problems with lithium, and that is because it does change our thyroid. The rest of these are a little bit more related to cancer treatments, so interleukin, interferon, tyrosine kinase inhibitors, checkpoint inhibitors, and phthalimide can also be connected with, or they are a drug that is known to be connected with our thyroids and causing them to lower in function. So, of course, what does the medical community want you to do if they're giving you some of these drugs? Now, my idea is they want you to stay on the drug, so they're just going to give you more prescriptions to try to balance your hormones or try to counterbalance that. So let's go over what we've already talked about just a second. I mean, you need to be checking your body temperature, and you need to kind of know where you're at on that. And we had a fabulous testimony to start with of some woman who was brave enough to really pinpoint her doctor and say, I want to have this tested in a month, not 4 months, And so we need to do some things that would be maybe natural if we can, because if you are not stepping out and you have a low thyroid because you are taking some prescriptions that you might need to, I mean, you might not have any choice. You might have to take these, but you might have a choice on what you could do for your thyroid a little bit more. So hopefully you're going to step out and try some things so that you don't have more prescriptions added to that list. Hope that makes sense. We have to all be hugely connected. Well, I have one more huge idea, and I don't want to get on my soapbox too much because I just have a few minutes, but I did put together a folder that I call Viral Immune Support. and it is in the virus folder. So it would be germs and then viruses. And it is a combination of vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, and iodine frequencies. Now, why this is so important is coming up, because here's another huge problem that we have today. And I couldn't even really begin to do this justice. And that's the problem with iodine. Okay. So, quote unquote, they thought that they solved our problem years ago, in the, I think, 20s and 30s, because they iodized table salt, but the iodine that they put in there was a synthetic. They did have some decreasing problems with goiter in the Midwest and different areas that were having a lot of goiter problems, but it didn't solve the problem long term. So if you are relying on iodized table salt, I hope you'll realize that that is synthetic. Kick that out. All of the iodized table salt has all the minerals removed. Again, too many things to go over here at that. And I've talked about it many, many times. So you need to get some iodine containing multivitamins. You need to be taking some seaweed. Make sure you're eating some, good, clean mercury fish, if that's possible, some shrimp. Dairy used to have tons of iodine in it because it was in our soil naturally, but it's very deficient now. It's not huge, and neither are eggs. They want to tell you that, but unless you have an absolutely fabulous organic farmer who knows what he's doing, our soil has been depleted of iodine. So we really have to keep working on iodine supplementation. They're saying about 30% of the world is deficient. And so again, we can get goiters, we can be hypothyroidism, and we can have problems with Down syndrome babies. That is where that comes from now with our younger generation. We used to have more Down syndrome babies with our older ladies have in later stage pregnancies, but now it's flipped, and our younger women who have low thyroid are having Down syndrome babies because of an iodine deficiency, or it could be another, intellectual problem. So what's the problem here? They actually put, our iodine in with sodium chloride, and they're not a good combination. So the sodium chloride actually interferes with our body's ability to absorb this iodine. And so what it does is set our bodies up to absorb more chloride, bromide, and fluoride because they're all similar atomic weights, and they mess up our iodine absorption. Now, every cell in our body has an iodine receptor. And, I've been saying this for 15 years, I guess. I shouldn't exaggerate. 15 years I've been saying this. I learned this a long time ago. But when I started looking for where an exact quote was on iodine receptors, I really had a hard time finding anything. So to me, they're not wanting you to know. It's not just right out there. You need iodine because every cell has an iodine receptor. No, they're not saying that at all. So try to, again, stay away, stir away. That was quite a phrase, wasn't it? But anyway, the iodized salt is a major mistake. Get your iodine from another source. And I'll kind of leave that to you. That's a whole different, I have a whole hour presentation on iodine, and I just want to show you a few minutes of it. But these are some of the iodine deficiency symptoms. And this is what is so important, is that now iodine has a really negative connotation. Our medical doctors are starting to say, oh, you have problems with hyperthyroid because you have iodine problems, and you can't take any iodine. So they've kind of flipped, and they're afraid to give us iodine. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I do know the phrasing that every cell has an iodine receptor. So you've got to get that straightened out so that your body can absorb iodine. If that receptor is not filled with iodine, it fills with a chemical, okay? So if you are hyperthyroid and they're telling you no iodine, ooh, whoa, you're going to have some problems, so you've got to work on that. And there might be some really special people that you could go to that could help you get that figured out. But look at these symptoms. I got 4 pages of this, but I wanted to show you this. I'm not going to read it all, but just to let you know that these iodine symptoms are very similar to the thyroid symptoms. So if they're giving you a thyroid prescription, is it going to do you any good if you don't take thyroid or iodine along with that? I mean, as far as I have looked at these prescriptions, they don't have iodine in them, so they're not giving you anything that's going to pull you up and help with part of this. They're just going to let you have a prescription that you'll need to be tied to for the rest of your life. I don't think that's an over exaggeration. So iodine deficiency, we think of cold hands and feet as a thyroid problem. Yes, but the root cause is cold hands and feet is an iodine deficiency. That's the root cause of it. And what is the root cause of that iodine deficiency? Maybe because we are taking the wrong kind of salt, or we're not taking any iodine. And maybe because 10 years ago, we didn't have enough iodine in our system, and we're all filled up with chlorine, fluoride, and bromide, and who knows what other chemicals. So let's look a little bit below, and that is looking at iodine. So again, if I don't need to go over this too many times, but don't forget that the spot on the WAVwatch where I have iodine is in the viral immune support. So if you wanted to make a playlist in your hypothyroid, I would go to the virus system and also put in the viral immune support. I don't know if I need to go back there, to show you. Okay, so that's why it would be important. So you could make your own thyroid idea. Okay, so then here's another page. So they do say Hashimoto's is related to an iodine symptom, iodine deficiency. Do they tell you that? Don't they just want to give you a prescription, So heart irregularities, your periods are messed up. Glaucoma is an iodine deficiency. Anybody have that? We've been talking about ice today, So they're even connecting, Graves' disease is an iodine deficiency. Wait a second. When you go to the medical community and you have Graves' disease, they tell you not to take iodine. Anybody had that happen to them? Maybe in a minute when I open it up, somebody can speak to that if they've had that problem. But I hope you see what I'm trying to point out, that they tell you not to take iodine when you have Graves' disease or hyperthyroidism. But here you can see that Graves' disease is connected with an iodine shortage. So heart attack, iodine shortage, edema, dry skin, the list goes on and on, diabetes. So make sure that you are getting iodine in some shape or form. So here's a third page again. It looks like maybe I've got glaucoma on there twice. Osteoporosis. So our bones are related to iodine deficiency. And here we go again, an overactive thyroid. Hey, isn't that Graves' disease? Isn't that hyperthyroidism? But we should not have any iodine. So I'm not sure where they're coming from that. It doesn't make me have a lot of faith in some of their studies and their scientific information. I'm not quite sure, anything else to read on here. Prostate cancer related to iodine deficiency. I made a big thing about telling you it was related to breast cancer, but it's also related to prostate cancer. The thyroid is connected with those cancers because of the iodine deficiency. So when we talk about thyroid problems, we need to be thinking thyroid iodine. To me, they go hand in hand. So here's just a picture of polycystic ovarian disease. And, some of these ideas, here's some more problems. Even our sleep apnea can be connected with an iodine deficiency. So these are huge. It goes on and on and on. And I just wanted to just make that connection with you that we have to be careful. Now, I did a new search today. I had found that list earlier that I showed you with the 4 different pages on the internet probably about 10 years ago. And when I looked today, this is all that I could find. I kind of mentioned that, didn't I? They don't want us to know that an iodine deficiency is connected with hundreds of things, you know? So they want us to, they just want it to be very, very slow, very, very not problematic. Iodine is huge. And so I've kind of lost the name of the medical doctor who, says that iodine is the cheapest way to solve the world's health problems, but it will never be acknowledged. It's one of the cheaper ways that everybody in the world can use. And just to wrap this up, just one more, and I got this from drjockers.com. I thought they put it together really well. They're saying lack of nutrients for thyroid hormones, iron, iodine, tyrosine, zinc, selenium, vitamin E, B2, B3, B6, C, and D. Okay, so a lot of nutrients. And then factors. Here's a different way to say it: stress, trauma, a low-calorie diet could be hard on your thyroid. Inflammation, of course. I didn't even mention we should be playing inflammation, pain, and trauma. Toxins, infections, kidney, liver dysfunction, medications. We did talk about that. And you can't produce proper hormones. He phrased it another way, just another way to say it: stress, infection, trauma, radiation, medications, fluoride, toxins, pesticides, mercury, cadmium, lead, autoimmune disease. And here we need selenium and zinc, and then the vitamin A, exercise, and zinc again. So I think that viral immune support does a lot of different things. It may not be perfect, but then if you also go back to the immune support in the chronic icon and play the immune one, there are vitamins A, B, C, and D. I think I put some more in there. So there are more vitamins in there that you could also put and pair those together if you were making your own folder for a playlist. One more idea. You can check your own thyroid just a little bit. And I'm not sure if very many people do this. I tell you most of the time to take your body temperature, but you can also stand in front of a mirror, stretch your head back, take a little bit of a drink, and then check for enlargement, right in this area where, a bow tie sits, where your thyroid is, and feel the area to see if you have a bump or an enlargement, and then make sure you're taking action. You're going to the doctor, you're doing some of these ideas, whatever you want to do, you're in charge, and you've got a little bit more education and a tool to use and some information that you can work with. Now, see, here's another chart that I found, and I just wanted to kind of prove to you that they're showing there's just a few symptoms for hyperthyroidism and hypo. No, there's 300 symptoms of hypothyroidism, and they just listed a few. So I tried to show you, and so many of those relate back to iodine. So I'm probably done, and I see I've got lots of questions in the chat, but just wanted to cover a little bit of information about thyroid. It's not all encompassing. It's not a med program about thyroid. It's just some information that we can relate back to the thyroid and the WAVwatch. So I'm going to open this up for a few minutes. And if anybody has any questions, and I'll see if I can answer, and maybe people have been answering in the chat already. Okay, so the first one, can't find the viral immune support. That is in germs and viruses. And then it's the second one that's listed there. Okay, and so somebody else says activation products, root wellness, nanosoma. And so there's some good things out there. So a huge to see. Let me see.
Hey, Linda.
Yeah.
This is Shafia.
Yes.
I just want to underline what you said about using the detox, because I mentioned this in past videos how, you mentioned that woman who said, oh, I've had my thyroid checked. My doctor says it's fine. And yet you could just look at her and tell she was hypothyroid. And the reason is it looked fine because her thyroid hormone, instead of having iodine on it, had fluoride on it because she was drinking fluorinated water. So people have to be very aware of drinking this fluorinated water causes the fluoride to attach to the tyrosine preferentially to the iodine. And if you're not getting enough iodine to begin with, and you're drinking the fluorinated water, you've got a perfect storm. So you need to do the detox. You need to get the fluoride out of your meal plan. And if that means, getting a good water purifier or buying drinking water, just so that you're not taking in the fluoride that's screwing up your thyroid hormone. And I mentioned this before, the Nazis actually gave the prisoners in the concentration camps fluoride because it would make them docile, because they would all be hypothyroid. And the research was done in this country. And Dr. Jerry Tennant has it in some of his webinars, the research that shows fluoride affects thyroid hormone. And yet, in spite of that research being done in this country in the 30s, they still put fluoride in our water, which, in my opinion, is a bit of a national crime. So I just wanted to emphasize that, and the fact that when I had Lyme disease, I became hypothyroid. And so I'm sure I could have done a lot of things, but without getting rid of the Lyme infection, I doubt that my thyroid would have bounced back. So I took T3 for a short while. And, some doctors will say, well, once you take thyroid, you're on thyroid for the rest of your life. And that's simply not true, because I had the Lyme. I took thyroid supplements for a short while using homeopathics. I got my body back, and then I got off of it. Then more recently, I had mold, and again, needed thyroid for a short while, and now I don't. So the thyroid, the body has a huge capacity for healing. And just because you have taken thyroid hormone in the past doesn't mean you have to take it forever. So those are my comments.
I love that, and your emphasis on the fluoride. Thank you so much for that. And I think I had forgotten that you had said the reason that the medical testing is so inaccurate is because when they test you, it can't tell the difference between iodine and fluoride, right? That's on your cells. That's the way
correct.
It breaks it down. That's the way, to easily say it. So then it comes back and, they have nothing that they can do for your thyroid because you are in the, normal or maybe the low normal range or whatever. So that's why I'm saying you got to look out and look about and find some other ideas. So love the information. I had a couple questions on salt. And remember, there are several kinds of salt that I really recommend: the Celtic, the Himalayan, and the Redmond's real salt. And again, those are different colors because they have different minerals. So there's not one perfect kind. And at different points in your life, you may need a different mineral. So hopefully you're going to be learning some muscle testing. But just in general, I can tell you that women that still have their cycle usually need the Himalayan. I've taught about 5,000 to 6,000 women how to muscle test, and that's what I've seen. Women my age that are not cycling anymore are usually going to test for the Redmond's real salt, and it seems like men test for the Celtic salt more. Am I saying that right? Celtic, I always get confused. But so that's a general idea, but you should be able to muscle test or maybe even change those salts around once in a while if you need to. One salt your whole life is not correct. You'll need some different minerals, and that's why they're different colors. And again, I can talk too much about it. So there isn't a right or wrong except for the word unrefined. Okay, you need unrefined sea salt. Okay, any other comments? I'm still trying to see some more questions here.
Linda, somebody asked
Yes.
about testing iodine, and I love the 4-inch patch painted on the thigh. Could you describe that for people?
Yes. So I couldn't even see that question. I'm having trouble arrowing down, I guess. But you can do an iodine patch. And basically, Lugol's iodine is an iodine that I do recommend. And it has been around for over 180 years. So people used to use iodine, liquid iodine. That was their go-to. That was their standard, just kind of like we use antibiotics now. That was what they used. And then it was kind of frowned on because it was so good and so cheap, you know. But you can paint just a little section on your, usually on your wrist. Some women who have lumps on their breast, when they come into my office, I have them paint it right on their breast. And then you're going to kind of watch and see how long that it takes for your body to absorb that iodine. And you should have it on your body for about 24 hours if your body is loaded with iodine. Several women have called me on the way home and their iodine is already gone, absorbed into their body. And, you know, one woman was in my office and it was like 10 minutes, you know. So the majority of women that are having breast problems are definitely having low iodine. So that's an easy way too. Thanks for mentioning that. See, there was so much stuff I couldn't even get to in an hour. So don't want to take up too much of your time. Vienna, is there any other questions you can see there? I am really not getting it to.
I don't see anything else. People have been jumping in to answer. It looks
All
good.
right. Okay. Anything I missed? So iodine is essential and there are different forms. My favorite kind is the Lugol's iodine, but some people do not test for it also. The muscle testing is important. So there are some different kinds of liquid salt, liquid iodine now, and I would suggest that you test those or make sure that you're doing something as natural as possible. Go to a health food store. Don't take the Mercurochrome iodine. Isn't that what we used to have as kids? We'd put on our legs, you know, and stuff. No, that's got mercury in it. Why do you think the name is Mercurochrome? You know, so be careful on your iodine, you know, but go to a natural health store and get some advice if you need to from what they have. All right. Any other
Linda,
questions?
several people are asking, just the last ones in there, about what if your thyroid's been removed? Is there a frequency to mimic happy thyroid?
You know, I'm not sure that I would have any ideas on that. I think that you're going to have to be running some hormones and some adrenals and some, you know, go through some of those ideas. Very, very important. The hypothalamus is in there, the pituitary, and make sure that other areas are really built up. There are reports that your thyroid can regrow a little bit. I've had people tell me that. And then the next person will say, no, that's not true. So I do not know about that, but maybe you could. Maybe you could play some of those thyroid ideas and have some testing done and see if you got some more results with that. Okay. Anything else that we should answer? I really appreciate everybody's time and enthusiasm. Let's see, Brad, your hand is up. Did I miss that?
No, I just put it up. I have two questions actually, Linda, and I've been thinking about this for a long time. You said that you get an insect bite or something and it starts vibrating at a certain frequency, and then your watch makes the same frequency, and then it gets rid of the insect bite. Well, that's good for negative things, but you've also got positive things on there. Like you've got love, and unity and a bunch of things like that. But we don't want to get rid of the love and the unity we've already got. So how does your frequency make it better and not get rid of it?
You know, I've been thinking about that I need to kind of put some information up there. So when we have like the love, the positive things, they actually synchronize, like maybe one of them, the love is a little bit weak, you know, it's not, it's a frequency, but it's not quite, you know, at the speed it should be, that kind of thing. And so you send a stronger positive love vibration in and they meet and synchronize. Okay.
I see.
Where they do say that when it is something that needs to be wiped out, like a virus, that they inflate, you know, and what's what I'm trying to say? They break each other down. and self-amplify. That was the word I was searching for, self-amplify.
Okay.
Right
That
question.
makes sense. Now, another question though, when there's a frequency for every single thing in our bodies, when our bodies are doing good things like repair, regenerate, rebuild, is there not frequency for that? Like sort of a one size fits all frequency for repair, rebuild, and regenerate?
Well, there is one in the wounds and healing. I have repair and regeneration. There
Oh.
is one there, but I don't know if that's overall enough, you know? And then also, I could be duplicating frequencies all over. And I did duplicate some frequencies, like I've got inflammation, pain, and trauma in several areas of the WAVwatch because it's so important. And I wish I would have done RNA, DNA. So that one is in the skin folder. But wouldn't that be one, Brad? You know, so there's a frequency for RNA and DNA. You know, strengthening in combination, that kind of thing. So I probably should have put that in a couple more places, you know. So you might have to look for that when it is in the skin. And there's a couple there for overall healing. And then wound healing has the best I can suggest, Brad. I don't know if that's strong enough for what you're looking for, but that's what I have.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Nancy, again?
Yes, when you were talking about the testing for the iodine, how do you spell the name of that brand you like?
Lugol, Lugol.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you're just listed as Zoom user in the red shirt. Hi there.
I'm sorry. My name is not Zoom. But anyway, I caught this late. There's a time zone difference and I jumped in late. So number one, will there be a replay? Can I find that? And then the other thing, I didn't quite understand when you do the risk test with the iodine, what are you looking for? What do you want to see? And if you don't see that, what does it tell you?
I'm sorry. So on the replay, it will be available on Facebook, Frequency Fanatics. There are about 65 different replays available. Okay, you have to go to Facebook, WAVwatch, Frequency Fanatics. And then I guess I kind of rambled a little bit on the Lugol's or the iodine patch. And you want it to stay on for 24 hours. If it fades away in 10 minutes, you've got iodine problems. So you should start building up your iodine in some way that you have chosen after you do some research and try to get that patch test to stay longer and longer. So you might, you know, take some Lugol's iodine, and I have women just rub it on their breasts because they're having breast problems. And then they could do the patch again, and maybe it stays for 2 hours instead of 10 minutes, you know. And then there is also something called an iodine reloading system, and you can find that on the internet, and it tells you how to start taking iodine very slowly and reload.